Hey folks, it's Chris Simmons again with CreateInsights.com, and in this insight we're going to discuss whether or not you should rent or not rent a commercial office space. I know this is a dilemma that many videographers face. I've faced it several times in my career, and so I think that this is something that will really strike a chord with a lot of our members out there. When deciding to move out of your home office and into an office space, it first has to make sense financially. If you can't afford it, you absolutely can't take on the risk of signing a lease for any period of time. Too many videographers, and really business owners as a whole, think that if they simply make the jump, things will work themselves out. Unfortunately, a lot of these people don't make it. You probably won't either if your numbers don't support the move. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, how do you know if you can afford it? For starters, if you're having trouble paying your bills every month now, you can't afford an office space. If your revenues are up and down and you never know at the beginning of each month how much money you'll generate the next 30 days, you probably can't afford an office space. On the contrary, if your revenues are stable each month and have been for a while, moving into an affordable office space is most likely within your reach. If you believe you're ready, I suggest that you figure out what range you're comfortable paying for rent each month and save 3 to 6 months in rent before signing a lease. This way, you'll already have the money in an account to help out if there is ever a period of time when business is slow. This is crucial. Business will slow down. So if you can save up 3 to 6 months of rent ahead of time, the better shape you're going to be in when those slow times occur. So the next question is, what type and how big of an office space should you rent? Only you can decide what's best, but I suggest you look at the way you currently run your business before making a decision. For instance, if all your sales meetings take place at the prospect's location or at a neutral place like a coffee shop or a restaurant, consider whether renting a place that has a nice conference room is even really necessary. Would people come to your office more if you had the space? Would you be able to rent a nice enough office so that you'd feel comfortable inviting new prospects to meet you there for the first time? I believe that it's better to meet first-time prospects at their place of business anyway. They're much more comfortable there, and all they can use to judge you is your work, you as a person, and your references. Then, after they become a client, you can invite them to your office space for follow-up meetings, review sessions, etc. Having a conference room as well as an office where you work can add several $100s to your monthly rent. In selecting my office space, I elected to go without the conference room at this time. My suite is large enough to conduct small meetings, but I will continue to schedule sales meetings at my prospect's place of business. If it ain't broke, why fix it? If I didn't need a conference room before, why do I need one now? It's really easy to dream about having that awesome conference room with the big screen TV and all that, but I can tell you, just by having a space big enough to have a group of people meet, you're going to add anywhere from $2, $3 to $5 or $100 or even $1,000 more a month to your rental fee. You know, I had no trouble closing deals this way out of my home office, so why should I change my business model just because I have a new commercial office? I shouldn't, and it's much cheaper not to. In my opinion, the best way to move out of your home office and into a commercial space is to start small with a short-term lease, no more than a year. Rent an office that is just large enough for you to work out of and keep all of your gear in your garage at home. On days when you have a shoot, you can load up at your house and leave from there instead of having to drive to your office first. As with the conference room, renting extra space just so you can store your equipment can add hundreds of dollars to your monthly expenses in additional rent, insurance, etc. After you've successfully rented a small space for a year or two, determine once again if you can afford an upgrade or if you even need to. Some videographers prefer to have everything under one roof, such as equipment, studio, employees, etc. But just keep in mind that the bigger the space, the more dollars it costs. And I can tell you from experience, it's really not always worth having that extra overhead. In a great economy, it can make sense to have a studio space with, a green screen psych and enough room to actually drive a car in to shoot a commercial with, or to have a conference room that has the big screen and you can seat 10 people in there. But in this bad economy, it's dangerous to take on that much in fixed overhead. A small office space with a short-term lease and independent contractors instead of full-time employees will help you stabilize profits over the next couple of years. And that's really been my experience. And honestly, that's really what it's all about. I mean, too many of us are trying to impress other videographers. So the hell what if they've got the big studio? You know what? I guarantee that whenever that banknote comes due or whenever that rent check has to be written each month, they're sweating the load and they're frustrated and they're upset that they are constantly held hostage to paying that much money. And the thing is, if you're running your business right, you can charge just as much as they do for the same exact service, except you don't have all that overhead. So more of that money is going to go in your pocket if you're smart with how you're renting your space. Now, it is smart to have a commercial office space. And really, if for no other reason than just to be able to answer the question, hey, where's your office? You can just say, you know what, it's at, XYZ Towers over on the other side of town. Or like my office space is, it's in 1 Northgate Park right next to the mall in Chattanooga. And so that really gives it the look and feel of a big professional office space, even though in reality, I'm only renting a couple hundred square feet of space. I think maybe 300 or 400 square feet of space, and my total cost is about $600 a month, which is very inexpensive. But when you come to my office, you pull into this big parking lot. It's free parking. It's this beautiful 4-story building, and it's full of professional service businesses. There's doctors, attorneys, accountants, architecture firms, and there's also my production company. So it really looks good on me, but I have a very low cost as it relates to what it takes to rent here. And I would just encourage you, much like how I tell other videographers, be very careful what you spend in equipment. Look at renting office space the same way. If you're going to rent an office space, don't sign anything more than a year lease if you can help it. And really focus hard on exactly how much space you need and stick with that, because I can tell you again from loads of experience, the odds of you getting in a position where you have to expand are going to be so much less than actually being in a situation where you have all this office space and you really just wish that there was a way for you to reduce your overhead to make what you have smaller. Because landlords, people that you sign leases with, they're not going to want to let you get a smaller space until your lease is up. So if you've signed a 5-year lease and you're paying $2,000 a month, that's like $24,000, $25,000 a year that you're going to have to pay for 5 years. It's like $100,000, $125,000. You will not have an option to back off and pull back. So worst case scenario, or really best case scenario, never lease a space for longer than a year. That way you keep your obligations to a minimum and you can get out of that lease when a year is up. You can reset, retool your business. I've had situations where I've gotten out of a really expensive lease, then moved back into my home office for a year just to kind of figure out exactly what I wanted my next move to be. And that was really the smartest thing I did financially. So coming out of that, it was, you know what, I want a professional office space, but I'm not going to pay a fortune. I absolutely 100% am not going to sign a lease for longer than a year. And it's amazing how when you start to protect your expenses, protect your business in this fashion, good things start to happen.